Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Bernie, and in today's video, I will be comparing the GH5, the G9, and my G7. GH5 is being used right now because the feature that I really love about the GH5 is the unlimited recording, which this three doesn't have, unfortunately. So while waiting for the GH6, and maybe some of you are waiting to get your hands on one as well, well, I told myself, why not compare these four cameras that I mainly use for wedding videography as well as for other filming scenarios. Just a note though that once there's a new camera that will come out, doesn't mean that the cameras you have right now are going to be useless or will stop working. That's just not the case. And guys, in this video, I won't be discussing the video features that the GH5 only have. It would be unfair, I would say. This is a more of a general camera comparison video wise, and the features I mostly use and the camera's key differences. So let's get started. Alright, first, yeah, you can call me a fanboy of Micro Four Thirds system, or basically the Panasonic cameras in general. Yes, I admit that. I love the system since the lenses are not too expensive. Although there are expensive ones like the native Panasonic lenses, but you can actually use a lot of lenses from Canon, from Nikon, and other camera manufacturers. Just put a Micro Four Thirds adapter to a lens, and you are good to go. Also, the lenses are way smaller and lighter compared to the full frame ones like that of Sony. Since most of the time I film solo, so this system really helps me to be mobile and be efficient in the field. The Micro Four Thirds system works for me. Alright, anyway, these cameras I would say are still future proof. Why? Number one is because they can all shoot in 4K. I've been filming in 4K ever since the GH4 came out, and I have never looked back. 4K and 1080p, there's a big difference in my eyes, and it's night and day difference in my opinion. And the beauty about the Panasonic codec is that it's so easy to manage file size wise. Really amazing video quality, but the file size are way smaller. On a typical wedding day, and if it's a 10-hour shoot, the total gig that I get from these cameras were about 250 gig to 350 gig depending if I am filming alone. And if I have a second shooter, sometimes it goes up to 450 gig. So yes, the files are still manageable in that case. Alright, number two reason is that I love using Cine D as my go-to photo style. All of these four cameras has the ability to film in Cine D, the picture profile that I use all the time, and my favorite as well. Whatever filming scenarios I do, like for weddings or even corporate, it's always Cine D. I like the look of it and I just tweaked it a little bit. And besides, in some of the wedding packages that I have, the raw files are included to be delivered to the client. So Cine D is the right photo style. It's the balance, I would say, since it's not too flat and my client can still see colors. So really, Cine D is the way to go for me. And there's still good amount of color baked into that picture profile. I just add lots using cinema grade and I am good to go. Alright, number three, they have the same color, so it makes sense to have the G7 as my third and fourth camera. Whereas the G9 is my main camera and the GH5 is my second camera as well as my second shooter's camera if I have someone filming with me. And my favorite part about the G9 is the handling. Really, nothing compared to the GH5. I love it really versus the GH5 since the buttons are so smooth to the touch and doesn't feel clunky or clicky at all compared to the GH5. Alright, so to continue with the video, let me tell you about the key differences between these cameras. First is the build quality of both the GH5 and the G9. They have the same magnesium alloy body. Both are splash proof and dust proof. And let me tell you guys that I had one wedding where I got my G9. It got really wet. And not talking about splash, it got wet for real, but for a few seconds. And this G9 didn't even skip a beat. Wow, that's amazing, right? Unfortunately though, the G7 doesn't have magnesium alloy body. It's plastic, so I'd be very careful when filming in the rain. And just a disclaimer guys, that please don't try filming in the rain because you might break it, and please don't blame me if that happens to you. But seriously, don't film in the rain with your G7 because this one is not dust proof or splash proof even. But I would say it's still a well-built camera. Alright, next is the autofocus. Well, the Lumix cameras are not known to have great autofocusing system since they're still using the DFD or depth from the focus. It's actually contrast based and really not so great compared to the Sony cameras, but it's fast enough when you're just doing a quick single focus. But the G7 is the worst when it comes to autofocusing. So if you're thinking of getting the G7 just for that, you will be disappointed since it's not really its strong suit. So the autofocus for both the GH5 and the G9 are okay, but not great. Now moving on to the third one, the IBIS. Oh my goodness. Or in-body image stabilization, which is really one of my favorite features. And I have been saying this a lot of times and I can't reiterate enough that I won't be buying any other camera without IBIS because it just works. And it makes me efficient on the field. I don't have to worry about jitters or shakiness of the camera, really even with a monopod. And before, when I was using my GH4 and it was on a monopod, you can still see and feel the shake. And even using the G7 on a monopod as well, well, you can see that it jitters a bit. Whereas if it's a GH5 or G9, with or without a monopod, there's a huge difference and there weren't any shaky video clips at all. It's amazing. That's why there's no going back for me. IBIS or nothing. Alright, last but not the least, one key difference is that the G7 doesn't have 4K 60p, whereas the GH5 and the G9 have. And again, one of my favorite features, and I think that 4K 60p is the right slow motion for weddings. 120 FPS would be too slow for me, but it's nice to have the 120 FPS for other filming scenarios, most especially now that the GH6 will have that feature. And not only that, it will be available in 10 bits. So it's really exciting. Alright, so now we're almost near to the end of the video. So which is which? What would be your choice between the GH5, the G9, and the G7? Well, it all depends on how you use the camera. I know it's almost 2022, but I would say that these cameras are still capable in the years to come. So, who is the GH5 for? Or even the G9? How about the G7? Well, if you're looking for a very well-built camera that has IBIS, 4K 60p, that can film in 10-bit when needed, has a lot of pro video features, and you really needed those features and can't live without them, plus the unlimited recording, then the GH5 would be your choice. It's a very capable camera even though there's already a GH5 Mark II in the market today. You can get a used one on eBay and actually a brand new one still on Amazon or even BH Photos. So really, GH5 if you're looking for those features. Next, if you're looking for a very capable camera that has a very good handling, and also you need IBIS as well as 4K 60p and doesn't need all the other pro video features that the GH5 has and can live without the unlimited recording, then what would be your choice? Of course, the G9 is the one I would pick up. So how about the G7? Can I still recommend this camera? Well, the answer is yes. If you are looking for a great 4K UHD camera and you will just use it on a tripod for talking head videos like this one, then this is the one to choose since it won't break the bank. It's so affordable now and I would say you can still use this for years to come. I know, I would say that this one is still future-proof. Although the G7 lacks a lot of great features like 4K 60p as well as IBIS. But for talking head videos, really, this is what you need. And for that single autofocus, then that is good enough. And also you can use this as a gimbal camera. But in my experience, nothing beats a camera with IBIS. So I always have my IBIS on even when using my DJI Ronin S. And that's why why I never ever turn it off. Because since it has that feature, why not utilize it in the first place, right? Okay, so how about you guys? Which one would you choose and why? Let me know in the comment section below and let's discuss. Alright, so that's about it for this video and I really hope that you find this helpful. If so, give it a like and don't you forget to subscribe if you haven't yet and click that bell notification icon to be notified with more awesome videos. So this has been Bernie. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now. And this G9 didn't even